the big problem with jazz. The biggest problem with jazz is that learning it can feel very challenging. How do you find a way in? If jazz is new to you, where do you start? If it feels like an unsolvable puzzle that's hard to piece together, I want to help you. We're going to look at a few different ways to teach yourself how to create your own great sounding jazz lines without even knowing that much theory. Let's use the song All the Things You Are to start with. Here's the first 8 measures. It's made up of nearly nothing but chord tones. Chord tones are important notes to convey the sound of the chord you're soloing over. And that's why this song is such a fantastic song to use as a learning tool, because the melody is so rich in chord tones. Your first in to improvising jazz is to learn to embellish the melody. But first, let's simplify the melody a little. From this to this. Using our new simplified melody, I'm going to play a bunch of chromatic notes connecting the melody notes, but play it with a jazz feel, keeping the melody notes intact, all in the same places. Notice that they're on beats 1 or beats 3. And you tell me if this works. Let me know in the comments. It didn't sound like anything was missing or wrong, right? But yet, I played a bunch of notes, a bunch of wrong notes, quote unquote. It may have sounded a bit bold and certainly not boring. I wasn't thinking scales, or at least chord scales, other than the chromatic scale, I guess. It's all about learning to put those wrong notes in the right spots. I wanted to do that first to prove to you that you are free to play nearly anything you want as long as you have some anchor notes for your ear to latch onto. That's the chord tones. In case you're new to this concept, our anchor notes are the strongest notes of the chord. The root, the third, the fifth, the seventh, and we try to place them on the strongest beats in the measure, beats 1 and 3. At least beat 1, but beat 1 and 3 is even better. You don't have to worry about not knowing a bunch of scales to improvise. Scales can be useful to help you create a melodic line, yeah, for sure, but it's not necessary right now to get you started. You can investigate that more down the road, absolutely. And I should mention it now. You really should do your best to memorize the melody and the chords to whole songs. Jazz is about songs. I'm just telling you like it is. Learn from the masters that came before us and learn songs. Apply everything we do here to whole songs. Yeah, it's a bit of work, but name something that is meaningful that doesn't require a bit of work. I'm just being real with you. Learning concepts will not take you very far unless you're applying it to actual songs. Now, this time we're going to look at things a little bit different, from a different angle. Focus on rhythmic phrases to create lines. If you want to check out the subject of why rhythm is so important in jazz, these 2 videos are good ones to check out. I'll leave the links below. Check out this Clifford Brown solo on the same 8 measures that we're using on All the Things You Are. listening to what jazz masters of the past have done is a tremendous advantage to take inspiration from. Steal from the best, right? If it already sounds amazing, you are starting from an amazing, great place already. We're going to steal those rhythm phrases we just heard and put our own notes to them. Maybe something like this. Remember, you can take inspiration from any jazz musician that you dig. It doesn't even have to be from the same song. Listen to your favorite players and take their rhythms and the way they played it. Copy the phrasing as best you can. Then personalize it by choosing your own notes. It's like learning to speak a language with the correct accent, the correct inflections. Buongiorno, my good friend. Could you direct me to the Vatican? Vatican? You know, the Vaticano. Ah, the Vaticano. It makes a big difference. Now, real quick, I would even say you don't have to worry about making sure the rhythms are exact. Just approximate something that's close. If you really want to progress quickly, or at least as quickly as possible, don't let perfectionism deter you from moving forward. Don't sweat the small stuff. Close enough right now is close enough. Let's do another one. This time I stole these rhythms from the melody to Anthropology. If you don't know, Anthropology is a Charlie Parker tune. See, it doesn't even have to be someone's solo. And let's target some different chord tones this time. For some variety, I guess you could say. Like, just mix it up a little. This is the other problem with learning to play jazz. You are likely not connecting your musical ideas. You have to teach yourself to play rhythmic phrases and have them feel good on their own. That's your sentence structure, with punctuation included. Then, the notes that you choose give your phrases or sentences some pizzazz, some color, but also with more meaning because you are following the harmony, choosing notes that helps smoothly transition from one chord into the next. You always have to think about what's coming next so you're prepared to make a smart decision. Hey, I'm thinking about putting together a mini course on jazz improvising. Let me know in the comments so I know there's some interest. And if you're definitely interested, I'll leave a link below where all you have to do is just input your email and I will let you know when the course is ready. So let's get back to it. Now let's make up our own solo from what we've learned so far. So if we were now to strip away most of the notes, what is revealed is our chord tone target notes. I want to show you how I think when it comes to targeting chord tones when I'm improvising, so that you get a deeper understanding. As you can see, I targeted C, which is the fifth of F minor 7, followed by F, the root. Then the third of B flat minor 7, which is D flat, followed by A flat, which is the 7th. And then the A flat resolves nicely to G, which is the third of E flat 7. Now, right there, that is like a beautiful move to do when you can resolve down a half step, a minor second, from one note into the next chord, and especially the third. The third, just like all the notes in All the Things You Are, the melody notes, a lot of thirds as we've discussed. That also helped create a nice little arc in the line to give the line some shape. Then I chose another G up an octave. That's because I played an arpeggio spanning a greater distance to get me there. That octave jump also makes things more interesting, less predictable. That's something to keep in mind. If you want to get to a note that's closer, use shorter intervals, like minor seconds and major seconds. That would be, scalar approach. Or some kind of enclosure or something. If you want to get to a note that's further away, use an arpeggio. Then I targeted the fifth and the third of A flat major 7, E flat, and C. That brings us to here, where I played a partial arpeggio, A flat, C, and D flat. You could argue that the A flat is an anticipation, which means getting to a chord tone early, an anticipation to beat 3, which makes the C a chromatic approach note to the D flat, which is also being anticipated into the downbeat of beat 4. You could also say, oddly enough, that they're all just simply displaced by a half of a beat. So you're kind of just coming in a half a beat early for each note. The whole 3-note phrase is displaced over by an eighth. Then I hit the D early, the root of D minor 7 flat 5. That's definitely an anticipation. I land on a B natural, the third of G7, followed by the fifth of C major 7, another anticipation. Then finally, the line is resolved by landing on an E natural, the third of C major 7, and look at that, another third. This video is actually a follow-up to my last video on the jazz cheat code. You should check that out if you haven't yet. You can do this. If I can, so can you. With a little bit of research, you can quickly start speaking the language of jazz and then put your own spin on it. That way, you'll sound like you. If you're serious about putting these concepts into play, I put together a PDF lesson that you can download on the topic we've covered here in this video. My PDF lessons are always full of examples that I explain and I show you what to do, then provide ways for you to implement the concepts to work into your playing and learn how to choose the right note to smoothly transition into the next chord that I mentioned just a little while ago.